demoing and explaining my news article search result classifier Chrome extension. So I'm going to start out just by demoing it at first. And how it works is when I search for something, if my classifier predicts a search result title is that of a news article, it will change that text to red. So when I just search for just news, the only things that pop up are the main websites of news websites. Not so they're not actually news articles. That's why nothing's highlighted. But say if I talk about something more recent, like news about the Florida shooting, um, my Chrome extension, which I'll explain more later, it will uh, send that to my local host that I have running to run the predictions, and then say for these news articles, as you can see, they're being classified as news articles. So as you can see, these more recent pages created specifically about the Florida shooting are highlighted as red. And then just another example, say if we search for people to see if they have any news articles on them. So as you can see, pages about people that aren't news articles, it's pretty good at not detecting it. But say, let's see if Professor Diorio won an award. Also, not really any news articles around that. Or say for like coding tutorials, it correctly doesn't predict any news articles. But let's just do one more example of like current news. Students visa revoked news update. So this one's having a hard time identifying news articles with these results, and that might just be because it wasn't trained necessarily on political data. But I'll just go into specifically how I created the classifier, how I trained it, and the Chrome extension. So I started out with a very large data set of news articles or Google search results for news articles. And essentially, I had to process their pre-processed data well, the first step was essentially where my data set. So I sorted I extracted all the titles of links that are categorized already in the pre-processed data I had as relating to not a news article and a news article. So if the link was categorized as news, I'll put it into this file. And then I noticed there was a lot I had to play around with. The titles included like the website name or like the publisher. So I ran code to essentially find the most used name entities at the beginning or end of a line, because that's usually where the publisher was before, like next to the title. And then once I found all these publishers, I removed them from these texts, as well as a couple other like weird, I guess, deformities in the titles just to make it more cleaner to train on. And then I finally sorted it into a binary data set of titles and whether they're a news article or not. And then I use that data set to train a binary classifier using Distilbert. And then I ran it for 5 epochs. and I picked the one with the highest accuracy um, and best precision and recall scores. And then once I trained that on Great Lakes, I started making my Chrome extension. So the way it works is it has access to Google search, and it has a content.js file. So every time I make a Google search, it will grab each of the search result titles and then make a request to my localhost server, which is here. And just to explain this first, it essentially receives post API routes, and then it inputs as input. It takes in the search result titles that I sent it from my Chrome extension, um, and then it runs it predicts it using the NLP classifier I had, and returns whether or not that search result, if it predicted it was a news article or not. So going back to my content, so just for this demo, if it did predict it, it will turn the text red in this case. And then you can also see in real time on my server, like each request I make, it shows all the post requests I made and what it returned. And same as in my Google console, I can see my debug of the text I sent it and what it was predicted as. But overall, the main limitations really was the data I arrived at after post process, because most of the majority class was news articles, so I didn't have a large non-news article data set, and that's mainly because their searches revolved around just searching for the word news with different Google parameters. So they did not have a lot to classify as non-news in their data set. But yeah, overall that's my project. Let me see if I have anything else. No, I think that's about it. Thank you.